Thank you. We are in a housing crisis, a homelessness crisis. As I said before, since 1970, the population of Santa Monica has grown by less than 2,000 when the rest of the state of California grew by over 20 million. We've been saying, oh, keep this, stay out. Now, Santa Monica has fought against building affordable housing. It's fought against building housing of any sort. Now you have about a quarter of your area in that Santa Monica airport, about a quarter of the area of Santa Monica. And you can certainly find some housing there. You know, I met with the firefighters local, I met with the police officers, and the firefighters said they have about 1% of the firefighters living in Santa Monica. The police department has a very small percentage. How many service workers in this town can live in Santa Monica? You're having 70% white people here in Santa Monica because you're pricing out all the minorities, all the people of color. You have to do a better job. We have to work to integrate. Kamala Harris wants to build 3 million units of housing in her first term in office. How many are we going to build, Santa Monica? We have to be part of that. If California has a third of the homeless population in our state, that means we need to build about 1 million here in California. How many are we going to build, Santa Monica? We're right next to the public beaches. We're right next to our public beaches here in Santa Monica. Those beaches belong to everybody. They belong to all of us. They belong to people coming from Kansas. They belong to people coming from downtown, and we need to accept all of them and make sure that they have access. But we need to build more affordable housing so we can solve some of these problems that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks. So, next, Ellis Raskin.
Thanks. Yeah, a lot I'd like to get through. So with respect to the pretextual stops, and the question was, do you support traffic stops? Yeah, obviously we support those. Pretextual stops have stopped some bad guys in our city before. We need to make sure that they're done equitably and not in a way that's perpetuating racist policing. Do we need more police? We need more staffing at every level. We need more code enforcement officers. We need folks working on our libraries. We need folks picking up the trash. But again, we're not going to get there unless we fix our budget. I'm going to stand up against the litigation settlements that are bleeding our city dry. What about needle distribution? I've been on the record saying we should find a better way to do it. We should move it indoors. We can work with the county to figure out a better way to do that. With respect to district-based elections, I personally favor ranked choice voting. I think that there are a lot of different ways you can do that, but it's up to the voters to decide. I'm really agnostic on the point about an elected mayor, an elected city attorney. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. With respect to parcel taxes, look, we're not going to get the affordable housing that we need unless, we're not going to get it through the private sector alone. That's been shown. We've built far above the RENA numbers for the market rate units, but far below the numbers for the affordable units. We need alternative funding sources to get us there, and parcel taxes are one way to do it. With respect to the park at the airport, Phil, I don't know if you're counting me in those numbers, but I don't support housing at the airport. It's got to be a great park. We can build housing elsewhere in the city, but we've got to support Measure LC and make that the great park that it once was. As for free parking for employees, interesting question. I don't know, guys. Sometimes city staff have to go around and look at things it depends on the staff. If you got a code enforcement officer inspecting a building, yeah, give them free parking to look at the building. Sleeping in parks, I think Grants Pass was wrongly decided. But look, we've got to find more compassionate ways to deal with our homelessness situation. And if we're not building effective shelter space and supportive housing, then what the heck is the point of pushing people out of parks if we don't have a place for them to go?
Thank you, Ellis. And now Oscar.
Thank you. So we have a crisis on our streets, right? Drug-induced mental illness. And so the solution then is to hand out needles and meth pipes in the park. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I've met with Dr. Sy, the person that implements this program. Since 2017, from 2017 to 2022, we've had almost like 1,000% increase in overdose deaths. how can you call that program harm reduction? It makes no sense. Sleeping in the parks, I believe in the concept of compassionate accountability, meaning that we're going to lead with compassion. We're going to provide temporary shelter for somebody that's sleeping in the parks. But the people that refuse our services or refuse to program with us or refuse to try to follow the laws and the rules in our city, then you have to kick rocks. You have to go somewhere else. Because we're going to try to help. We're going to give services and compassion. We've been doing this in the city of Santa Monica for many, many years. And I'm proud of the record that we have here in the city of Santa Monica. But there comes a point, where you need tough love. I have a young brother that ended up developing paranoid schizophrenia. He got sick. And part of it is because he started doing drugs, heavy drugs, crystal meth, and family tried to engage. We tried to intervene as much as we could. He didn't want to listen. Unfortunately, he got sick. And it's a very hard thing for families to deal with. We have a broken system. We could have prevented, we could have done better interventions, but then when he got really sick, we would call, police for help when situations were going to get bad, and they basically said, well, until he commits a crime, we can't intervene. We need a better system to help families that are struggling with children that are dealing with mental illness in our community.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Vivian?
Thank you. I'm going to address the needles in the park. Back in 1982, 83, I was about 3 years old. My family moved to Santa Monica, and I was always told, keep a distance from the homeless, don't disturb them, and keep an eye out for syringes in the sand. It's 40 plus years later, and I will not have that discussion with my kid. It's insane that we're giving out syringes to people across the street from two groupings that should be protected. We have our elderly across the street on one side, we have children across the street on the other side. When people get high, they're not paying attention to how respectful they are to those around them. We have two vulnerable communities who shouldn't be at risk and be exposed to this. Aside from that, when I was a child as well, the first time I saw a naked person was at Lincoln Park, and it was the summer after first grade, okay? That was back then. Now I have to think about my child being exposed to a dead person who's overdosed. This is not compassion at all. This is not healthy for any of us. Secondly, with the parcel taxes, we can all agree here it's very expensive to live in our city. We cannot keep pushing the taxes over to us residents across the board. We need to create opportunities for businesses to open and have that money come from businesses. Finally, with regards to the airport, we absolutely should have a park there. However, I want to be certain this park does not turn into Gelson's 2.0. We have to protect our park, make sure it really does become one. We deserve outdoor space.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. So, thank you all. That was awesome. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to my colleague and neighbor, Brian O'Neill, who is the chair of the Pico Neighborhood Association.
All right, guys, good afternoon. We are about 2/3 of the way through. So first of all, I want to say thank you again to all the candidates for running, right? You can't have democracy without candidates. And thank all of you for being here today. This is what participatory democracy is all about. We're going to take a minute to stretch out before we go to the next round. So stretch your arms. If you need to stand up real quick. I teach college, and I know after an hour 15 minutes, you gotta move a little bit. Do any of the candidates need a bottle of water? Okay, this is not a bathroom break, guys. This is just a stretch. Let's come back. If you could be reseated, please. Okay, the final round before closing statements, the one I'll be asking questions for, are what we've called targeted questions. So there's one question for each of the 10 candidates. Again, you'll have 2 minutes to give your response to your respective questions. The order, as in the other rounds, was done through a randomizer. And the first 3 questions will be going to Dan Hall, Ellis Raskin, and Ericka Lesley. So the first question will be to Dan. Okay, come back in, sit down, guys. We've resumed. Okay, Dan, when asked about the relationship between crime and economic development, you stated, quote, some have proposed a cop on every corner, but that won't stop crime from happening. End quote. What will stop crime from happening in our city? Candidate Dan.
Yeah, thank you for this question, Brian. Listen, I believe we need to be focusing on preventing the root causes of crime, which are unstable housing, lack of education, and lack of economic opportunity. If you look at my website, one of the first things it talks about is fully funding and fully staffing our police department. I think we absolutely need to do that. But we are also trying to run a city here. We also need to open our libraries to full staff. I believe all of us supported that. We also need to be helping our businesses reopen. We need to be revitalizing the promenade. We need to be investing in technology that will scale our police force to do their job. Ellis mentioned the drone program, the real-time crime center are things that we can invest in now that will scale our police department while we are waiting for the hiring to catch up. We should not be lowering the bar when it comes to hiring for our police department. We want the best officers in the county. We want the best officers in the state. And to do that, that takes time. So right now, we have the salaries for 4 police officers sitting sequestered in an account that could be deployed for these other programs that would cut crime, that would help economic development. So I believe we're trying to run a city here. I believe that we should be spending and deploying our funds, what limited ones we have because of the budget crises that we have ended in, judiciously. And we should not be favoring one department when the problem that they address, the issues that they address are solved by so many other parts of our city.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up was a question for Ellis, and then after Ellis will be Ericka, and then Phil. Ellis, when asked about how our city can stimulate the production of more affordable housing, you stated, quote, "We need to leverage our public land to get us where we need to be," end quote. Would that use of public land include the airport? This has come up earlier, but that's your question.
No.
No.
Not at the airport, no. No, the airport is going to be a great park, and I look forward to working with city staff and stakeholders around the city to make sure that we can make it be a great park. There are other places around the city that I think can be used for public housing, and some places that are probably not appropriate for it. For example, there's been a lot of talk recently about converting the Bergamot Art Complex to housing. I would like to save the arts in Bergamot if we can. I would like to make sure that we have a vibrant arts community in Bergamot. But there are a lot of other parcels around the city that I think can be reutilized for housing. For example, the parking lots on Euclid and 14th Street and the other ones, I think should be used not for underutilized parking, but rather to help get homeless people off the streets. I think that's common sense policy that most progressives would agree with. Let's talk about the other parking structures downtown. This is a fact, backed up by parking studies. We are overparked downtown. That is a fact. We can take some underutilized parking structures, like parking structure 3, which has already been demolished, and build housing there. We took a hard look at the 6 cycle housing element at places where we can build housing. And like I said before, the private sector is not going to get us there alone. We haven't built nearly enough affordable housing by relying on inclusionary programs. We need to figure out how we can get funding sources both locally and leveraging federal and state partners to get us there. If you're looking for a person to address these problems, I'm your guy. I'm an environmental attorney. I understand how to work with stakeholders and communities across the country to address our environmental challenges, to address our housing challenges, and to build equitable and just and inclusive cities. In Santa Monica, we're just not getting there. We have thousands of high school graduates who've been priced out of Santa Monica. We got to do better.
Okay, thank you, Ellis. Next up will be Ericka, then Phil, and then Vivian will be after Phil. Ericka, you've stated that one of the problems with current programs for the homeless in Santa Monica is that, quote, no one checks up to see if people are getting the services they need, end quote. Have we created a homeless industrial complex that is out of touch with the people it aims to help? And how would you change the system?
Thank you for that question, first off. So yes, we've recreated that system. Most of the resources that are available to people that are unhoused are not means tested. They don't know even if it works or even if the beds are available. So therefore, the people that are being sent across town are being sent across town just on the hopes that it's available. As they're seeing that the bed is available across the town, somebody else is being sent there as well. And if they get there after the other person gets there, they no longer trust the person that gave them the information. There's too many different things where people are becoming abused within the system. And because I'm coming from the ground up instead of from the top down, is the reason why one of the reasons why I'm running for city council. Because these things need to be looked at from the ground up. 10,000 foot view down on people is not a way to govern. We have to understand why is it they're there? How can we help them in a way that is sustainable? Because what we have right now is not sustainable. And you have a lot of people that are on the streets and angry because they've been sent somewhere where they're unable to get help or housed. The resources that we're using is not working.
Thank you. Okay, next will be Phil, then Vivian, and then John after Vivian. Okay, Phil, this is kind of a lengthy question, so roll with it. You've been on the council for 3.5 years. So on December 10th, 2019, in the housing study session, the city council uncritically accepted the 9,058 unit RENA mandate over 5 times the prior state housing unit allocation. This decision was made knowing that the state rules would result in over 30,000 new units. Many look back on this decision as the one that doomed future councils an impossible housing target, setting the city up for ongoing failure. Will you, Phil Brock, push back against the RENA mandate and call for an audit of the city's RENA numbers?
Yes, we can thank our previous city councils for that horrible decision of not fighting SCAG, not fighting the state. The decision was made to accept every unit that they could possibly give us and say, we want more. I didn't want more. Our housing RENA numbers now are set just under 9,000, not 30,000. And we have already far beyond satisfied the amount of market rate housing we were supposed to satisfy. And the inclusionary housing that we're getting is absolutely destructive to our city. We are supposed to have 6,100 or so affordable units in the city, but every time you get inclusionary, you get a tidbit, a morsel, not even a full appetizer, 10 or 20% affordable. Yes, the city council should have fought. And 4 different times, I have asked the city of Santa Monica to join lawsuits against the state of California and been rebuffed each and every time by our city council. One time the city council voted with me and said, we'll take it to the West Side COG for approval. That was Tuesday night. Thursday morning, the council member who was our main representative of the West Side COG reversed her vote in public at the city council, and with nobody watching, voted against us joining the SB 9 lawsuit. Now, we tried, and I'll continue to try. I'm trying at the state level. I'm now part of a SCAG committee trying to make sure we have reason. Talk about open space, talk about environmental justice, and not just talk about filling every inch with concrete and stucco in our city. So I'll continue that fight. It is about local control, and that's what's extremely important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up will be Vivian, and then John, and after John will be Wade, just so you can be ready. Okay, Vivian, you're running on a clean and safe platform. In a recent town hall meeting, a resident expressed his distress that he can't allow his children to go outside their apartment without first checking to see if there is a dangerous trash or human feces near their home. This is a topic you mentioned earlier, but what would you do to make his and all neighborhoods safe and clean in Santa Monica?
You have to ask the dentist about a cleaning, right? You know, safe and clean, it comes hand in hand also with economic recovery for our city. We need to clean it all up. That being said, first of all, there was that article that came out with the quality of the water around the pier and it being among the absolute worst in this country. I spoke with somebody actually at the airport yesterday who said that she brought her family on a vacation to our beach and her son ended up with a staph infection. That's terrible. We need to clean it all up. Remember, we need to clean up all of our city. We need to have the downtown cleaned up more often, and particularly because it'll then attract the rest of our city to come back into Santa Monica, to see that Santa Monica is a safe place for everybody to enjoy themselves. Santa Monica is the kind of place that somebody would want to come back again for vacations over and over again. And Santa Monica is the kind of place that people would want to come and raise their families. We don't have that right now, and I want to fix that.
Yeah, I need water. It's hot up here, guys. Give it up for all the candidates. Okay, thank you, Vivian. Next up, we got John, and then we'll be Wade, and then Barry. John, given the city's current fiscal challenges, our commercially derived revenues cannot keep up with the increase in residents due to the RHNA mandate. What alternative revenue sources would you consider, or would you propose service reductions, cuts in services, or both?
Well, first of all, we got screwed by RHNA, okay? The bottom line, 30,000 units coming into our city is not acceptable. We don't have the resources, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the water. What has happened here? How come we're not pushing back on that? So we got screwed by the state of California. So what are we gonna do about that? Well, the first thing I would do, I would file a class action lawsuit with other cities across the country. We need affordable housing. We need affordable housing, absolutely. But not 30,000 units. And everyone's talking like we got money to pay for this shit. We don't. Excuse me. Here's the real issue. Money doesn't grow on trees. Our businesses tearing down parking structures that bring value to bring people in our city. The city treats that like it's a net, it's equal, it's a net nothing, right? But what happens there is the people that come to our city that want to shop here and spend money here don't have access anymore. So why are they coming to Santa Monica when you can go over to the Grove or somewhere else like that? So the bottom line is we have to increase the revenue for all these dreams everyone wants up here. I mean, we're talking here at the comments tonight, like we got the federal government to pay for this stuff. This is not taxing our way through this issue. We have to be accountable. What I recommend is, besides the RHNA thing that we have to really put the brakes on, We need to drive the economy. We have to get behind cleaning up our city. We need to address the homeless issue, and we need to address the crime and make this an attractive place for people who want to come here from all over the world again. Right now, we're dead ducks, okay? So here we go. This is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna clean up the city, and then we're gonna support the businesses. We're gonna be entrepreneurs to be with the businesses, help them drive the revenue, because 50% of our general fund comes from the business community. So let's not stick them in the eye, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up will be Wade, and then Barry, and then Oscar. Okay, Wade, this is a question I can tell from your opening comments is dear to your heart in terms of the issues you care about. It's about homelessness. How will the recent Supreme Court decision in Grants Pass versus Johnson and Governor Newsom's recent order for the removal of homeless encampments affect people living on the streets of our city? How would you solve this problem?
Well, first of all, we have to give a big raspberry to Governor Newsom because he let the people down. We gave him $24 billion to help build affordable housing in this state, and now they're having an audit to try to figure out where all that money went. It's sad. But cities like Santa Monica have been dragging their feet about being part of building housing. You know, for generations here in California, we all know who, if we were born here, my dad bought a place in Garden Grove for $13,000 when I was born in 1959. And that house is worth $900,000 today. We all know that for generations, all these cities, especially here along the coast, next to our 800 miles of public beaches here in California, they've been dragging their feet and said, we're not going to build any affordable housing in our neighborhood. It'll bring down our property values. And that's why 70% of the people who live next to the coast are white, rich white people. And I'm sorry, we have to keep working towards integrating our society. We have to keep working towards democracy, equal rights, equal justice, equal opportunity. A lot of these things we've been talking about are because we haven't built enough housing, we haven't let enough people. And if we're serious about this climate crisis, we have to make sure that more people can live in a temperate climate. Now you can find an area for that park near the Santa Monica Airport, at the Santa Monica Airport, and you can still build some affordable housing here. You can still build affordable housing all around Santa Monica, but people don't want to, it's greed. It's just plain greed, and we need to stand up for human rights of everybody and keep moving forward. We are not going back. Let's keep moving forward in peace.
Okay, thank you, Wade. Next up, Barry, then we'll have Oscar, and last but not least, Natalya. Barry, you were endorsed by Abundant Housing Los Angeles, which advocates for aggressive housing development. Here in Santa Monica, a developer is planning a high-rise residential complex on Nebraska Avenue near Olympic and Centinela in the Pico area that will have buildings of 34 stories, 33 stories, 26 stories, and 24 stories, all far exceeding the tallest building in Santa Monica. Is that kind of overscale development, is that the kind of overscale development you support?
Well, thank you for that question. As I stated earlier, we need affordable housing. But I also think that we need to look at the type of housing in the areas that will be most needed. What I mean by that in our transit area, I do not want to change the landscape in our community. I think high-rise housing is not what Santa Monica's for. I grew up in New Jersey, so I knew in the New York area, so I know what high-rise housing did for the community. On the other hand, I do think we need multiple solutions for housing. There is not enough housing down here. Our downtown is dense enough to be able to put more housing in it. That's why I supported knocking down the parking infrastructure at that time to build housing there. We need to look at more innovative practices with respect to housing. I'd like to address one other thing. Yes, I did stand at Santa Monica, on the downtown Santa Monica board for 12 years, as Mayor Brock talked about. So I got the opportunity to meet regularly with business owners and property owners in the downtown. I had a really good relationship with many property owners downtown. Just last week, we have our bookstore open again in our 1300 block. Do you know how long that took? The last time our bookstore on Wilshire and 3rd was open was 12 years ago. It wasn't the pandemic. It wasn't the social unrest that closed that business. That business is standing there. I look into the audience right now. Any one of us that had a building for 12 years empty in our downtown, you think that's right? You think we should blame it on the homeless population for it? I've done some amazing things with the downtown Santa Monica board. We had a $10 million budget. When we had the crisis with our security, we came through and found $1.7 million to pay for security. I wasn't supportive of security that had armed security, because I think it should be in our police department. Our security in downtown has been pretty much successful.
10 seconds, Barry.
But however, one of the things that I want to talk about is creating, I'll stop.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Oscar and then Natalya. Oscar, with the state allowing developers to build large projects on the boulevards with little or no parking, neighbors worry that the new residents of these housing projects will receive parking permits that allow them to use the already scarce parking on nearby streets. Will you oppose giving preferential parking permits to residents of the new boulevard housing developments?
Yes. You know, we talk about downtown and revitalizing our downtown. It's very important, right? Third Street Promenade. We know that that's the economic engine that funds this city. But we can't forget also about our neighborhood-serving commercial sectors. So we need to make sure that those small businesses, local businesses, also have ample parking, and also that, you know, we're building housing. And sometimes you hear, well, you know, these projects are not going to have any parking, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You know, I grew up poor in Santa Monica. Poor people need a car. You know, if you're a single mom, you need to drive your kids to soccer. You need to get the groceries when it rains. What are you going to do when it rains? Drive a bike? Get on that bike lane and take your kids to school? It's not going to work. Poor people, low-income people that are in the affordable housing units also need parking, need cars. That's the reality of it. So we need to be mindful of all that. We can't just be imposing sort of, you know, someone said, you know, up in the tower coming up with solutions for the people, you know, at the bottom that these solutions are for. You know, we need to make sure that we're inclusive in talking to people that are going to be living in those units. I still have like 30 seconds because I want to address something really quick. We have, everyone here is talking about different things that the city needs, but in order to do it, you need money. Do you know that this city, and many of the people that are on here in opposition to those of us running for and supporting district elections, they support continuing the lawsuit, right, to fight over $14 million of your money that's being given to the most expensive lawyers in the state of California to fight district elections in this city. You cannot hire police if you're giving it the money to expensive lawyers. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Natalya, way down at the end of the stage. All right, the California Hospital Association and a RAND Corporation study both concluded that 50 psychiatric beds of inpatient care per 100,000 individuals is the absolute minimum required to meet current needs. Santa Monica has a population of 92,000, but we have no psychiatric beds for our residents within city limits. How would you solve this problem?
Thank you so much for this question. I really appreciate the opportunity to address this. We do need psychiatric and mental health beds, but do we really need them in Santa Monica specifically? Because this is a regional problem. It's not just a Santa Monica problem. So I think that we need to make sure that we have psychiatric mental health beds on the west side, but not necessarily directly within city limits. The VA campus in West LA has a lot of space. Why don't we put them there? That way it could be used by all of the west side cities. And when you think about it, when folks are released from that type of care, they're released where they are. So do we want to make sure that folks are released in Santa Monica, where they can go back to, you know, whatever they were doing here in Santa Monica, or somewhere that might be closer to where they actually need to be? If I may, I would like to actually address some of the other questions with the CVRA lawsuit. The thing is, we have people of color elected to every single elected body here in Santa Monica. And that's without district elections. If the people want district elections, then they would have voted for them either of the 2 times that they had the opportunity. If the courts thought that Santa Monica had violated the CVRA, then the Supreme Court or the appellate court would have ruled in the plaintiff's favor. They did not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all 10 candidates. We are now in the home stretch, guys. Let's finish strong. I'm going to pass the baton back to Bruce. Give it back up for Bruce.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you, audience, for enduring the heat and sticking with us. We're so glad we had such a good turnout, and you guys are amazing. And candidates, also thank you for your endurance. We will give each of you 2 minutes to talk about whatever you would like to try to earn the votes of your peers. This is also in random order, and we're going to start with Vivian, and then Dan, and then Ericka. Vivian, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you all for your patience this evening, for showing up and sitting through the heat, and I look forward to meeting each of you face to face as we wrap up. I love this city. I've been here. This has been my hometown for over 40 years. I think we can all agree that we do need a safer, cleaner city. We need a city that has opportunities where we can all grow and flourish, and we need a city that we can be proud to call home again. My whole family is here. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope I can count on you and your support in getting our city course corrected and moving towards a brighter future. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivian. Dan Hall, your closing statement.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you to my colleagues up here on stage. We may not always agree on the direction we want to go or the policies that we support, but I appreciate your willingness to serve and your love for this community. Second, I want to thank the over 45 elected and appointed officials in Santa Monica who have endorsed me, have supported me, have encouraged me to run, have put their blood, sweat, and tears out on the campaign trail, knocking on doors over the past month. Thank you. A lot has been mentioned about local control up here tonight, and I want to address that. I wish you had asked the question that you'd asked Barry to me, because we lost local control when the incumbent council majority gambled with the state and fell out of compliance with state law. We have towers going in on Euclid Street and all across the city because of the builder's remedy and because we had a non-compliant housing element. The incumbents say they're tough on crime, but on January 26, 2021, one of their first meetings, all 2 of these incumbents up here who are running again voted to defund 5 police officers from the city's budget. On June 22nd, 2021, the mayor tried to cut the city attorney's budget, where our city prosecutors sit. There's been promises of cutting 50% of homelessness within the first year of being in office. They promised transparency and accountability, but when a council member broke the law, they blocked an internal investigation into that law. There's a team of the four of us up here, an attorney, a financial analyst, and myself, a veteran who has led teams over 100 people in a combat zone, managing over $300 million of assets, that care about competence, that care about compassion, and that care about character. If that is who you want to see in your leadership, I encourage you to vote for real change this November. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. Ericka, your closing statement.
Okay. As a proud mother and resident of this city, I am more interested in the voices of our people. There are working class families that cannot afford to be in many of these clubs or any of these neighborhood represented here, in these neighborhood represented associations. Their voices need to be heard. We need to make sure that all voices are at the table, not just the ones that are in the clubs or the associations, because they're being affected as well. Our families are sometimes working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. This is unjust and unfair, but their voices are not being heard because they don't have the time to come to these meetings. I am running to be that voice. I'm running to be your voice. I sit here before you as a representation of what it's like to rise from the bottom up, and as the chair of your rent control board, an advocate for affordable housing and renters' rights. And I thank you for your vote to be your voice and bring it into City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ericka. Next, we will have Oscar, and then Wade, and then Phil. Oscar, your closing statement.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to remind everyone, though, when we were elected in 2020, our government was in disarray. No city manager, no chief of police, unprecedented budget cuts, and massive layoffs. We brought stability to our government. You have to recognize that. All the criticism can be said, but we were elected in one of the worst times in the city's history. We brought stability, we started making investments, and we're making some progress. And since being elected, we have prioritized delivering a cleaner and a safer city. We want enhanced protections and support for renters and local businesses. We have delivered on that. Outdoor dining, ordinance changes to make sure that our businesses are succeeding. When it came down to voting to support renters so that the rent hikes wouldn't go so high, we did that. We stood by the renters in this city to keep them housed. Now we must continue on the path that we started since 2020. I am asking our residents to stay the course by re-electing me to the City Council, Phil Brock, Vivian, and John. Let's make sure that we continue on the path that we have established to get this city in the best position possible. I've served 18 years on the school board. We're recognized as having some of the best schools in the nation. I love this city. I'm a product of this community. I'm raising my own 2 boys in the city. One of them's at Santa Monica College right now, one of them's a 9th grader at Santa Monica High School. So for me, it's personal. This commitment to serve this community, to make sure that we, as a government, protect the well-being of all the residents of the city, renters and homeowners alike. We need to make sure that we deliver on that promise. And I hope that you vote for me in the next election. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Wade Kelly, your closing statement.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate it. You know, I've been coming back to Santa Monica since, well, I was born right near here in Culver City, and as a kid I came out here. And then in 1989 I did the Second City Training Center over there in downtown, and Up Front Comedy Club, we were there, and movies and TV and stuff like that around here. And I've been, since about 9 years, almost 10 years I guess, I've been playing my guitar out on the promenade. That's why they call me the guitar guy, because the peaceful promenade protester, they wouldn't let me designate myself as that. But I have seen the way. I just wanted to play peace and love songs and spend the time at the beach and spend life easy. But I've seen the way they've treated the poor here. And I've seen the way they've treated the homeless on the promenade. And I've seen the way they've tried to quiet voices on the promenade from speaking up against these abuses. I've seen the way some of the police officers have treated the homeless people on the promenade. I've seen the way they lock up the chairs at night so nobody can sit on them. They've taken away all the benches so nobody can have a place to sleep. We're supposed to be working towards a more perfect union. We're not trying to work just for the rich and the powerful. We have to keep moving to a better day for everybody. And that's why, after Grants passed versus Johnson, when they're actually going to criminalize people for being homeless and trying to sleep, these same people that bad government has pushed out into the streets over generations. This has been coming on for generations, and we need to stand up for the rights of everybody to make sure that we can have a better day for everybody right here in Santa Monica. And I say peace, love.
Thank you, Wade. Next up is Phil, and then we'll have Natalya and John. Phil?
Most of you know me. I've walked your streets, I've walked the alleys, I fought for parks, I fought for art in the city, and I fought for all of you. I fought for my mother, who's 96, who lives 3 blocks from here. I'm a product of our schools, a product of our city. I ran for city council because I was so distraught by the actions of our previous city council. I was so upset that nobody cared about development in the city. I stood for organic development that would not destroy our place. Now, the state has prevented us from doing our job. I want us to do our job again. I want us to control development. We can build the low-cost housing we have to build, but we don't need to displace our small businesses at the same time. We need to make sure our neighborhoods are solid, and above all, our neighborhoods in this city are safe. It's not all about downtown. It's about Ocean Park. It's about Pico. It's about Santa Monica Boulevard. It's about Wilshire Boulevard in Montana. It is about all the neighborhood shopping places that we care about in Santa Monica. I am committed and remain committed to making those changes to make this city safer. I am someone that any one of you can call and talk to. I meet residents every day all around the city. And yes, I believe in compassion. I believe in compassion for our homeless individuals. I believe in compassion for our residents and compassion for our businesses. It's been a tough 4 years because of where we started, the lowest point in our city's history. We are coming back, Santa Monica. We're doing better. And yeah, I probably talk too much. Yeah, I post on social media. Yeah, I'm out there a lot. Someone has to lead. I've been leading. I've been meeting with all of you. I care about this city. It's been the honor of my life to serve as mayor. Please, as they say in the woods, rock the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Natalya.
I'm fed up. Aren't you? We have had 4 years of empty promises from a council majority who pledged safer streets, to end homelessness, and to clean up our neighborhoods. Yeah, we do need change. Ask yourself, not who will be soft on crime or tough on crime, but again, who will be smart on crime. I will. Then ask not who is pro-business or anti-business, but who has the expertise to protect our local small businesses and attract the right kinds of new businesses to reinvigorate our economy. Santa Monica deserves better. Santa Monica deserves council members who will hold themselves to the highest ethical standards. Santa Monica deserves council members who won't direct the city attorney and city manager to break the law. I'm asking for your vote because I know how to legislate, how to make the city budget work for all of us, and how to develop city programs that serve every generation of Santa Monicans. That's why I'm endorsed by a broad coalition of renters, homeowners, small business owners, the Sierra Club, the Santa Monica Democratic Club, LA County Assessor Jeff Prang, and former Supervisor Sheila Kuehl. I am more than happy to meet with anyone and have a discussion. Because the thing is, without all of us, without the disagreements that we might have, without coming together after having those disagreements and having a talk, we'll never be able to truly understand how we can make the city better. We need to build bridges, and I'm ready to do that.
Thank you, Natalya. John Putnam, and then we will have Barry, and finally Ellis. John is next.
Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Honestly, I'm a new candidate. I'm not a seasoned guy. You heard that my opening statement because I forgot my notes down there with my wife, so I kind of flooded that up a little bit, so I apologize for that. But I'm a real person, and I have real values, and I care about the city. Myself and my family are so dedicated to this city and what it's done to serve my family. My special needs daughter, Brooke, was through the school system here that's been so supportive. So we love what we've been giving back, and we want to give back to the city as well. And I'm up here serving to try to win an election today because I'm the fresh guy. I'm not afraid. I'm not a seasoned politician, and I'm not looking at any political aspiration, but trying to help the city right now. So if you want some fresh ideas and you want someone who's going to fight for you, like I said, I got no political goodwill to anyone. They're talking about all these endorsements up here. I don't give a crap. And that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is taking care of our city and taking care of our residents as #1 first. We will support, I'm supporting a lot of the measures they're talking about up here. But what I won't support is let our city commit suicide by letting these developments come in here at 30,000 units. We don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the money. Where are we gonna do? What are we gonna do to solve that? So I'm here to fight against that. I want affordable housing. I want to take care compassionately with anyone on the streets. We need to pick them up and get them the care they need. Nothing is compassionate about leaving anyone dwelling in the streets, and that's what we're doing right now. So let's turn this around. You got me. I'm the guy gonna fight for you. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Barry, your closing statement.
First, I want to thank the neighborhood groups for putting this together. It's not this forum is one where you get tidbits of who we really are. I believe that the important thing is to have leadership, someone that has experience, and someone that really cares about this community. You know, as I look into the audience and I look at the population that's out here, you know, I don't know how often many of you get to talk with someone that's black in this kind of forum. I'll be honest. And the reason I bring that up is because every time I sit down on the board, I'm the only black male sitting on the board. Think about that, 20 years. And the reason I bring that up is because everything with respect to politics, we know how we've gotten to a point where our housing situation policies have put us in a situation where most of the housing north of Montana is for the most wealthiest. I remember at 9 years old when my dad wanted to purchase a house in a white neighborhood, and we went there at night to take a look at it. They wouldn't allow us to be there, even though we had the money to be there. We need to think about these things about individuals. I say all that to say that as a person of color, as a person in a community that I love very much, you have to take yourself out and say, what can I do for the community? What can I do? As I walk around this community and see homeless population, and most of them look like me, I get passionate about trying to make changes. So we need leadership, we need ethical leadership. I've been on boards where closed door sessions stayed in closed doors. I've been on boards where our finances really needed to be scrutinized. Our college district has had 9 years of good public finance, our school district, good audits. I am going to do these kind of things as a city council member. So I hope that you'll look at me and support me and vote for me in November.
Thank you, Gary. And Ellis, bring us home.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who put this together, and thank you all in the audience for sticking through this hot afternoon. Hopefully you've learned something about us. Hopefully you've learned something about me. I was counting up the years the other night, and my wife and I have now lived more than half of our adult lives here in Santa Monica. It's a city that we love, like many other people up here. It's a city where we're going to make this our home. We have made it our home. And I'll tell you what, I've got the skills and experience to make sure that we lead our city into a brighter and better future. You've heard promises from people up here about fighting for crime, fighting for safety. I absolutely agree. And except for Dan, who is fighting on the front lines in Iraq, I think I'm the only person up here who's worked for a law enforcement agency. And we heard talk about folks who are fighting against what John said was 30,000 units, and that's not exactly right. That's not a arena allocation. But I'll tell you what, even the most fervent supporters of development in the city agree that we need to have smart, coordinated development in a way that makes sense, in a way where we're not going to have incongruous buildings that don't fit into our neighborhood character. I am an environmental attorney. I know how to work with the law to make sure that you're not going to get empty promises about lawsuits that have never ever won. We're going to have to make sure that we make a city that makes sense for the future. And I've worked with the Sierra Club. I'm an elected member of the local executive committee of the Sierra Club Los Angeles chapter. I fought to save open space. I fought for parks. I fought for safe streets. And I will promise to fight for your community. Those of you who know me know that I also will sit down, grab coffee, or just meet with any of you. You're welcome to call me up. And those of you who know me know too, I'm an independent voice. I make my own decisions. Folks know that sometimes I don't vote the way that other folks around the city have asked me to. But you know what? I vote with my conscience. I vote with my ethics. And unlike some other folks here who have voted to exempt the city council from ethics rules, I promise to lead with integrity.
Thank you, Ellis. Let's give a round of applause to all our candidates for spending so much time with us today. Thank you. And audience, thank you for being here. Make sure you get out and vote on November 5th. See you later. Or vote early.